Good morning, happy Sunday, everybody. So let's kick things off with my low, my high, my act of kindness. I would say that my low was probably slept in a little bit too late this morning, but no big deal. Got to be at church in about just over an hour and 10 minutes. I should be able to make it in time. My high was seeing my family last night, as well as going to Picks to watch the College Wrestling National Championships. And most especially seeing probably the greatest upset in NCAA wrestling history. Some people are calling it that. And my act of kindness was when visiting my parents. They were having dinner with my nephews, and I helped. My mom was busy, so I helped out whenever I can. Especially my nephews wanted some grape juice, so I got them some grape juice. It's the little things. Although, okay, I've got a question for you guys. I mean, seriously. Like, no soon after I gave my 5-year-old nephew a cup of grape juice, he immediately spills it. To which my mom yells at me that he's supposed to have a lid. A 5-year-old needs a lid to drink out of a cup. I'm sorry, that's a little bit too old, don't you think? Maybe I'm overthinking this, but... And then my mom proceeded to yell at me saying, well, you did it when you were 8. I'm like, that is a bold-faced lie. Like, even if I were to buy into the fact that at 5 years old, you still need to have a lid on your cup, there's got to be a sooner cutoff than that. Definitely a lot sooner than 8. Like, yeah, my mom was clearly trying to, justify why she was acting the way she was, because she was so flustered, she was so busy. Anyway, yesterday was rather melancholy video, so you know what? I'm going to try and make it better by talking about something that actually does excite me. Which is, after what seems like a good couple of months, Chuggaaconroy released his second clue as to what his next Let's Play is going to be. Now, if you don't know, Chuggaaconroy is a YouTuber who is easily the person I've watched on YouTube the most in my entire life. I've been watching him since August of 2009. Or was it July of 2000? Basically summer of 2009. When he was doing his Fire Red Let's Play. And then he immediately moved into Super Mario Sunshine. And I've been a fan of his ever since. So, with all that said, I think at this point, I don't think I would consider myself the authority on being a Chuggaaconroy fan, but you're going to be hard-pressed to find someone who's watched Chuggaaconroy longer than I have at this point. I mean, I'm sure there are people who have, but they probably stopped because, life gets in the way and such. So, I mean, again, I would say it is possible that people have been watching Chuggaaconroy from the very beginning, which would have been probably a year and a half before I started watching him, or close to it. Anyway, I forget when specifically he started doing this, but after he finishes a Let's Play, he'll give his first hint in the final video, or the finale of the story video, I guess. And then he waits a lot. He basically gives out 3 hints. The first is, again, the time I just mentioned. The second is a couple of months later, so right about now, because he finished Bowser's Inside Story I'm pretty sure it was December when he finished it. I forget off the top of my head. And his third and final clue is going to be about a week or so before he actually reveals what the next Let's Play is going to be. He just released the second clue last night, so I think it's about time that your boy dissects what's happening. So, when he finished Bowser's Inside Story, he gave out the first clue, which was, it is a game that comes in between two games that he has played on his channel previously. His second clue is, it is a game that is not currently playable on the Nintendo Switch. Now, if you've been watching me for long enough, and obviously you know I'm a Chuggaaconroy fan, then you guys know that the one game I've always wanted to see Chuggaaconroy Let's Play, due to both reverence, atmosphere, music, and some of the most iconic scenes in that franchise's history, is Legends of Zelda Twilight Princess. Now, the first clue, the one where he says this game comes in between two games he's Let's Played before, Legends of Zelda Twilight Princess falls directly into that category. Because, if I recall correctly, the very first Zelda game he ever Let's Played was Wind Waker. And he's done other Zelda games too. He's done Wind Waker, Majora's Mask, Link's Awakening, Phantom Hourglass, Skyward Sword. The latter actually came after several years after he did Majora's Mask. And fun fact about Skyward Sword, that was the next Legends of Zelda game that came out several years after Twilight Princess. I remember seeing the art style for Skyward Sword for the first time, and I'm like, yes, they hit a happy medium. They got Twilight Princess character design with the color and animation. Well, actually, I think the animation is a combination of both Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. But definitely the color schemes of Wind Waker and the character design of Twilight Princess. So, right now, it really is looking as if Twilight Princess is the game that he's going to Let's Play next. But what about the second hint? A game that's not currently on the Nintendo Switch. Let's look that up, shall we? Okay. Is Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess on the Nintendo Switch? Nintendo has not ported Twilight Princess to the Nintendo Switch yet. If that's not my clue to get excited, I don't know what is. I mean, again, we still have one more hint to go. And there is definitely a chance that I'm wrong. The reason why I've always wanted Chuggaaconroy to do Twilight Princess is because Chuggaaconroy, whenever he does a Let's Play, well, if you ever watch him, you would know that he goes above and beyond when it comes to, like, researching things about the game, whether it's the story, or something happened behind the scenes, or just commenting on aspects that most people don't really tend to focus on, at least not me. For example, when he did his Let's Play on Xenoblade Chronicles, every so often he talked about how good the music sounds, and he would actually stop talking and turn off the turn off his microphone just so we, the audience, can hear that music that he likes. And then we hear the music and we're like, oh yeah, now I see what we're talking about. And he's also done his fair share of explaining like the atmosphere of certain little moments, or like how this one particular moment affects another scene later. Like these nuances that casual gamers don't really tend to focus on. I mean, I myself in recent years have gotten better at paying homage and remembering, little things like that. In fact, full stop, lately I've been watching some of the old Crash Bandicoot games. He's never Let's Played those, but bear with me. Although that would be fun for him to do. He would never do it though, because he only does like Nintendo games. More on that in a moment. Like, not only just to watch a game that I grew up as a kid with, but all these years later, like, I would say about 99.9% of those games still hold up. By the way, I said Chuggaaconroy only does Nintendo games. Technically, when he did Okami, that game was also for the PlayStation. I think for the PS2. But since it's for the Wii, and plus you can actually use the Wiimote to draw, that's why it's, it's a Nintendo game. Anyway, if there's one game that Legends of Zelda Twilight Princess has in spades, it's atmosphere. I mean, this is the first, if I recall correctly, this was the first game to feature, I guess technically Link is considered, I would say, very late teens. Like, I'd say, bare minimum, he's got to be 15 years old in this game. See, normally in the Legends of Zelda games, Link is a kid. They like to, it sort of borrows the Shonen Jump approach as of late where, the hero is a little kid. And we can gravitate towards that little kid because, little kids watching can, be like, hey, he's a little kid just like me. And adults can be like, you know what, I was a little kid just like that once. Something for everyone to relate to. That's why little kids as heroes can be quite relatable and entertaining, if done correctly. Honestly, I've never really been sure if Link has been that kind of character you could do a little kid as correctly. I mean, on the one hand, Link never really talks in the games. But maybe I'm just reading too much into that. Anyway, that's why it was so crazy when Ocarina of Time came out, because that was the first time we saw Link as an adult. And with how good Ocarina of Time was, people have wanted to see Link as an adult again. I mean, don't get me wrong, Wind Waker definitely was a return to form. But when Twilight Princess came out, we're like, okay, this isn't your daddy's Legends of Zelda. We're going to be, gritty, we're going to be darker, we're going to incorporate more atmosphere. We're going to give you Link as an adult again, even though I would say he's in his late teens. Like, this is a new Legends of Zelda for a new generation. My generation. And you could argue that it checked all the boxes for all of those. I mean, IGN was never going to give Twilight Princess a 10 out of 10. They've only done that twice for Ocarina of Time and Breath of the Wild. But it was a return to form of something that we hadn't seen since Ocarina of Time. In the realm of the story did get darker. The stakes were a lot higher. Link is an adult again. And not to mention, like, because Link doesn't really talk in any of the games, unless you're playing, like, an old school, like, 8-bit game like the original Legends of Zelda or, like, Link to the Past, you have to rely on Link's facial expressions to really see what he's thinking or what's going on. I can tell you that for Twilight Princess, this Link is no pushover. I mean, he's still that sort of, silent hero who's optimistic in a way, kind of naive, but he's able to grasp things really easily, and you can tell by looking at him. And like all the other Zelda games, except for the most recent one where Zelda's actually the hero, he is a hero. And one that fights for good. And you can argue that Twilight Princess is one of the iterations of Link that does that the best. So I'd love to see Chuggaaconroy talk about that. And the atmosphere. Man, I tell you what, I said Ocarina of Time definitely had its dark moments. But Twilight Princess, it turned up the volume, but in a way that's smart. In a way that's very smart. There's definitely some moments where if you're not expecting it, it's going to take you by surprise. And I would love to see Chuggaaconroy talk about that more. Well, only time will tell. We still have one more hint to go until Chuggaaconroy reveals what the game is. But right now, I'm feeling pretty comfortable saying we're going to get Twilight Princess as the next Let's Play for Chuggaaconroy. I mean, again, there's a chance I could be wrong. In fact, until I get the final hint, I'm never going to know. For sure. But right now, I'm feeling pretty confident. However, if it does wind up being Twilight Princess, I myself, I'm going to be a little excited, but I'm going to remain humble in doing so. Because no one will be more surprised or happy than I will. I hope y'all like this video. If you'd like to subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow me on social media. As always, I'm your host this video for all of you guys watching. Enjoy for name. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Sunday. And remember, if you guys want to talk, channel is going to be here to lend you. Always your back. Take care and make good choices. 607 all day, baby.